Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what lessons about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to 2 lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Let's Hang Out, a podcast that's hosted by gays who yell about movies for days across the whole US of A. Let's hang out.
I should have known you were gonna do a
You had to have seen it coming.
I should have known, but I was like, what's she gonna do this time? A good old Willie
I don't
chant.
know how you didn't expect. I pulled a Willie. Oops, that's not what I meant to say.
And that's part of the drinking game. Anytime you hear a penis euphemism, so pulled a Willie. There you go.
Oh God, hear or see there.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a
Trigger
lot.
warnings here.
From the West Coast, I'm Liam Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, up until this last episode that you're never listening to
Up until
again.
Lee said pulled a Willie.
No.
I lost so many people there.
Thank you as always for listening. And if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. And the first thing we want to talk about is our trivia nights. Our next trivia night is in New York City at Caveat, Sunday, October 27th, Halloween weekend at 6:30 p.m.
We also have one coming up in Arlington, Virginia at the Boardroom on Wednesday, November 6th.
And I feel like I shouldn't be announcing this because Lee's so excited about them, but
I'm so excited.
the next one is in Berkeley, California. Lee will be there, so I know you want to be there, at Spats on Friday, November 8th at 6:30 p.m.
And after that, we will be having one in the Mission at El Rio in San Francisco on Monday, November 18th.
We'll also be hosting an L-Word premiere party for the new Generation Q at Bella Luna in Jamaica Plain in Boston on December 8th from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. So excited about that.
As a reminder, we are getting really into hosting events. We love getting queer people together to hang out with each other and to hang out with us. So if you want to have a trivia night or other events in your cities, get in touch with us. Let us know your venues or where you are, and we'll see what we can make happen. You can send us an email at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
The weekend soiree is coming up next week.
I can't believe it.
I am so excited. We're going to be in New Orleans hanging out with a lot of really amazing queer people. We hope to see a lot of you there, and we're going to keep you updated on all of the shenanigans we get up to.
It feels like we've been waiting for years.
Oh, our whole lives
literal
for this.
years.
Yes.
That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee, and welcome everyone to Season 3, Episode 4, our next installment of Lez-ssentials.
Lez-ssentials is a recurring segment that we love doing on the show where we dive into some classic or newer lesbian movies or shows. And as a reminder, we are also writing and recording original songs for each Lez-ssentials that we do. So stick around to the end of the episode to hear our song for Colette. It's called I'm Coming Out.
So excited about this. I feel like one of these days we have to release the betas that you send me.
Oh God, let's never ever do that.
Lee sends me her singing and like some piano chords, and then it turns into something wild and crazy like a marching band. I don't know, just like random things that come to my head. But this one is gonna be great. So cannot wait for you to hear this one.
And the betas are burned after we make them, so...
Yeah. No, you can never hear the betas. Just email me for the betas. No. For this Lez-ssentials episode, we're going to be breaking down one of Lee's high school wet dreams. Bisexual Keira Knightley in Colette.
Look. That's fair.
It's true. Yeah.
The thing is, I just love Keira Knightley, and I don't love her less in this movie.
Oh, honestly, I've always loved Keira Knightley. I feel like, have a huge crush on Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley is very crushable. But in this movie, I feel like she transcends. So I'm very excited to get into it.
She's great in this.
Oh, yeah. She's wonderful.
My actual high school dream Keira Knightley, though, is always going to be Bend It Like Beckham Keira Knightley.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Pirates of the Caribbean Keira Knightley?
No. I want to set the record straight. It's sports bra soccer playing Keira Knightley. That's all.
Makes a lot more sense.
But unfortunately for me, we are not here today to talk again about Bend It Like Beckham. We are here to talk about Colette, which is fortunately for all of us. So if you are not familiar with Colette, it is a more recent movie. It came out in 2018, written by many names that I am about to butcher, and I apologize ahead of time. Richard Glatzer, Wash Westmoreland, and Rebecca Lenkiewicz.
Lenkiewicz, that sounds right.
That sounds right? I'm going to go with that. Nobody look this up, or if you do, just tell me if I'm wrong. And it was also directed by Wash Westmoreland.
Starring Keira Knightley, Dominic West, and Denise Guff. I feel like Denise Guff is in enough of the second half that she can get a starring credit.
Oh, I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll give Missy. We're going to
definitely give Missy a very strong. Missy is far more of a protagonist in this film, in my interpretation of it, than they gave.
That's also because you and I try to pretend Willie doesn't exist in this movie.
Please go away, Willie.
Our IMDb blurb for Colette is: Colette is pushed by her husband to write novels under his name. Upon their success, she fights to make her talents known, challenging gender norms, which is a really weird sentence.
It's a really weird way to just say, like, she gay.
Yeah. It's a weird blurb and a very kind of surface level overview of this movie. But why not? Sure, IMDb.
I mean, that is the general idea. If I were to say what this movie is about, Colette writes books for her idiot husband, Willie, and he takes all of her success as his own until she finally has amazing lesbian sex and decides she's worth more. And fights to get those books
back. Is it
back.
lesbian sex? Open question.
All right, gender nonconforming sex.
Gender nonconforming sex. I know we'll get into Missy a lot.
Yes.
So I just, I want us to be
accurate,
respectful.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to be accurate since we don't actually really know how Missy identified.
Yeah, but
we'll talk about it more when we meet Missy.
We can conjecture. Yes.
When we start the movie, at the top, we certainly are years and years away from Missy. We start out in Saint-Sauveur in France, a lovely little town where we have tiny little baby country girl.
With the largest braids this town's ever seen.
Yes, braids for days.
Braids for days.
When we first meet Rapunzel, her name is Gabrielle Sidonie Colette, and she is very excited because, and what I'm going to say is it's almost the first line of the movie, and I think I'm going to count it as our first penis euphemism, so gear up for this drinking game, y'all. It's going to be a rough night. Willie's coming.
No, Willie, no.
And it doesn't stop there. So, Willie's coming, and yes, Colette is excited. She gets on her nice fancy dress. They have tea. I don't really know what to say about this scene. It's quaint.
It sets the
seems
scene.
Like Willie's.
It sets the scene that Colette is a country girl. Willie has come to visit from the big city with all of his adventures, and you sort of get the idea that he thinks he's better than her. and he's gonna come whisk her away and show her all the wonders of the world.
He a cultured city boy, and he's gonna tell them about the theater, and he's pretty much already the worst. And he only gets worse from here. So, hooray, we've met Willie. Colette, however, does not think Willie is the worst, and so as soon as their visit finishes and Willie goes on his way, Colette has to go on a walk. Air quotes, going on a walk. Except she's not going on a walk, she's running to some barn in the forest.
And going on a ride.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. I don't like that.
I don't like it either. It's too, I'm sorry, that was way too far.
Yeah, it's the first of our way too much gross heterosex in this movie.
Valid.
I just want you to know, my first note in this, it just says, the barn. Ew.
And I would like to say, before we continue, because anytime Willie and Colette have sex, I feel very uncomfortable. It's not that all heterosex is gross. It's that the Willie heterosexual sex is gross.
Willie's heterosexual
No, because when we talked about Professor
Willie's
Marston, I mean, I was into Professor Marston. I was like, okay, this all feels consensual. He's,
yeah.
Professor Marston also has some misogynistic tendencies, but at least, he's letting his wife explore. There's a lot more freedom and honesty in their relationship. So we'll talk more about that. But not all heterosexual sex, but this.
This heterosexual sex. Pretty terrible. I just want to let you know that note of ooh, that is not my first ooh in my notes.
Oh, yeah.
By a long shot. I'm going to say a solid maybe 20% of my notes are just the word ew. Ew, 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 ew. Occasionally in all caps. I think one of them I said, how can I make my oohs get bigger? Because there's not big enough font for the oohs
Makes
that I had to
sense.
write. So ew, the barn sex, it's all bad. Yes, Willie is just the worst. Then we get a nice, it's like our first Colette writing something scene. She's writing a letter to Willie. She has lots of feelings and thoughts and all sorts of stuff. And all of those feelings and thoughts lead to them getting married, I guess.
Yes, they do get married.
Hooray for the 19th century. No, 1920s? When does this movie take place? I clearly took careful notes. So they get married, and Colette moves to Paris, right?
Yes. And it goes straight to the dinner party, right?
Yeah, they kind of jump right in, right? We get this, very introductory brush of, here was Colette. She's a country girl. Now she's in the big city. And it, pretty quickly jumps to, here's how terrible these city folk are.
I love the scene before the party, though, which is when she's getting dressed. And so we've only seen Colette in her country bumpkin type of vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time we really see, I think, her strength and she does not give a shit what anyone thinks about her. So Willie wants to put her in this very feminine outfit, corset, and she's like, no, it hurts. I'm just going to wear my comfortable dress, like any good queer woman would say. And so here we are with Colette being like, sorry, Willie, I'm not going to look like your typical Parisian wife. This is what you get, and here we are.
Yes, she rebels against the corset, and I think kind of rebels against the party at the salon. I'm going to say that this party that they go to echoes some of my thoughts about when we watched The Favorite, which is that kind of eat the rich mentality.
Yes.
Of, these people have too much money and too much time and shouldn't exist. That's my take on that.
Don't they have a...
You're welcome.
There's a turtle that's painted gold.
Yes.
Correct?
And bedazzled. The poor turtle.
Yeah. And I feel like that turtle is a metaphor for Colette. This, this creature from nature. They're trying to fancy up and city up, but it's always going to be something from nature that belongs in a different place and lives by different rules.
Yeah.
So
the turtle makes me sad. The turtle doesn't make me as sad as the many, many euphemisms that we get in this one scene of the party.
Oh, God.
Which doesn't just include Willie's name, because Willie's name, I think, counts for a solid 50% in this movie of our penis euphemisms. We also get them talking about that giant erection, the Eiffel Tower. What does everyone think of this giant erection in the center of Paris? Not a good enough excuse to say erection, everybody, just so we're all on board. They also talk about when they learn that Colette and Willie are married, and someone comments about how she's caught that slippery eel, Willie. And I'm like, ugh, you guys, honestly, like, how many euphemisms can we fit into one single conversation at one dinner party? And the answer is all of them.
too many.
Too many. Not too, harsh on this movie being written by a dude, but I'm gonna blame all of those on the dudes.
Valid.
So, yeah.
There you go.
I do enjoy, though, just to give Willie a little bit of credit, because we're gonna do that very infrequently in this movie. I do enjoy when they're riding home in the carriage after the party, and Colette's kind of like shitting all over the party.
Because, yes.
Right? Because everyone there is terrible. But what I like is Willie gives this description of it where he's like, they're not terrible. He explains it as the point is to be authentic but larger than life, which I enjoy because it's a very accurate description of camp, right? Like, that's what camp is. Camp is not supposed to be like pretense. It's supposed to be like overly exaggerated truth.
Yes.
And so I like that, even though I don't necessarily know that that's what most of the people at that party were doing. But good for you, Willie, for stumbling into a nice, nuanced explanation of what camp really is.
Interesting. Yeah, just for pretending like those fake people are just campy.
I'm gonna say I think it's one of the few things that Willie does well in this entire movie. So I just figure we should
give him a little
some
bit of credit.
A little bit of credit, especially before we dive into the next scene, where I'm going to take it all back. You're the worst, Willie. Because the next scene is when we meet Willie's team of writers. So what we learn about Willie is an author, in the sense that Willie puts his names on books that other people write.
He's a literary entrepreneur.
Sure, sorry, my mistake. Capitalism at its best. Yep. So, Willie, our literary entrepreneur, basically hires other guys to write books for him so that he can put his name on the books. We meet two of his writers, Schwab and Weber, and he is describing the plot of the next novel involving a protagonist named Renaud who meets a hooker, and she drags him into her sexual quagmire, and he's just suffocated in her passion, and it's just, yeah. I have another ooh in my notes. There's more oohs already.
It's bad.
It's...
There's nothing more to say about that. It's just bad.
Wait, there is more to say, because you know what's even worse than Willie writing his weird wet dreams into someone else's novel that he's having written for him based on, like, his masterful ideas, is Willie trying to leave his apartment and leaning over to pick up his hat and letting out, like, a huge fart.
The only thing I will say about that is it really did surprise me. Great for putting something unexpected in a movie, I don't know. But I was just like, wait, what? And then
it's
I think, what does he say? He says, like, that's true intimacy, my love, or something like that. And you're like, come on, Willie.
What a catch, ladies. Am I right?
Oh, my God. And it's been like 3 days since they got married. He's like, well, you get what you get.
Honeymoon phase ended real quick over
fast.
there. Well, it also apparently ended for Willie, because despite claiming that he's going to the bank or to appointments or to whatever, where's Willie actually going?
To his lady friend. Lady of the night friend.
His lady of the night, yes. Somebody sends Colette a note. Colette leaves in a huff to stride purposefully through the streets of Paris and hunt down Willie, arguing with his hooker about how much money he can afford to give her. Because, of course, despite having no money, Willie's throwing it all at the prostitute that he goes to, apparently regularly.
I love, too, when he answers the door, he's like, oh, you came to join us, love? Like,
oh,
what?
My God.
Like, oh, I meant for you to come here. Oh, good to see you. Are you kidding?
Oh my God. Also, isn't that what he says later on when we're going to come back to that, but that's literally what he says when they're writing the book.
Yes.
With Georgie.
Yes.
Oh, what a piece of crap you are, Willie. I hate him so much. And currently, so does Colette, which is at least something. She gives us this great... I love Keira Knightley being pissed at Willie in this movie. She is just on fire. Mm-hmm. She's great. And she gives this great screamed, go to hell, as she just books it out of there. Like, has no time for his shit. Yes.
Which I don't either, so...
Yeah, I don't either. It's also a little bit of a lie because she does put up with way too much of his shit in this movie.
I'm like, just because you yelled at him every single time, like, you needed to leave him 10 years ago.
Yeah. So she takes off. She goes back home. She's in the garden with Cito, who is the beautiful... We didn't mention it in the opening scene, but I feel like we should mention that it's Fiona Shaw playing her mother, who is just... great. She doesn't have a huge role in this movie, but I love her.
And we know her pretty well from Killing Eve and plenty of other things.
Yes.
But
plenty of other things, but yeah, our
Eve
gayest,
is the most recent that I'm obsessed with her.
Our gayest Fiona Shaw reference would be Killing Eve.
Yes.
So they're in the garden. They have this really cute conversation where Colette asks her if she ever felt like she was just playing a part, being a wife or a mother. And Cito tells her, sometimes as a wife, never as a mother. What I love about it is Colette comments that she just needs to get used to marriage, And Cito has this really on-point comment where she's like, better to make marriage get used to you. Yes.
One of my favorite lines.
Such a good line.
Yes, so good.
It's gonna take Colette a little bit to get there, but, I like to think that plants a little seed.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna get there. It takes way too long, but we're gonna get there.
God, it takes so long to get there. Starting with Willie also comes back to find Colette. They take a walk. She forgives him. She forgives him endlessly in this movie.
The thing is, the conversation that she does have with him, which I think Willie never understands, is she doesn't care that he's sleeping with other people. She cares that he lies, and he always lies. He will not stop lying. I mean, his whole life is a lie. Like, his whole career is just a big lie.
He is pretty pathological about it, yeah. When they're getting ready for bed that night, though, an important scene, because this is going to... I think you're thinking of the next scene, which is bad.
Yes.
So the conversation before bed is Colette starts mentioning some of her school stories with her best friend Lucy, and Willie's a little too into them already. But it does sort of set the stage for what is going to happen with the Claudine books. There's these stories from Colette's childhood that he's aware of, and those are basically going to become the Claudine books. So she's telling him those before bed. Then they get into bed, and Cito's listening to them, hearing them.
And that's the
terrible
moment for me, for sure.
Yeah, but at least we don't have to watch it this time, Ellie.
Yes. Oh, just have to hear it. Thank God.
It's only, I think it's slightly better if you don't have to see Willie's
face,
beard, and just
not good.
During
yeah,
all
I don't
of it.
like it at all.
It's a little better. So they go back to Paris, and we have one of the many scenes of Willie's writers kind of demanding their money because he doesn't pay them, because of course he doesn't, because he's useless and terrible at everything. And he wants to hire more writers, but they don't have money for more writers, and he has a genius idea. Colette could just write for him.
Which is a brilliant idea.
What an entrepreneur.
Because she's brilliant.
Yes.
But bullshit because Colette's writing for Willie.
Yeah. It's just bad. It's like, I know, free labor. I'll just make my wife do work for me and not pay her anything.
Because she's my wife. She has to do it.
The worst part is, she does. She does write him. She writes him a whole freaking book.
Yep.
Right? And then she gives it to him to read, and what a giant sack of crap Willie is. Oh my god. The worst. He's like, the first thing he says, oh, I have to take a piss. And you're just like, what?
What?
He's so terrible.
Well, it's just like Willie is the most
frustrated.
selfish human being ever. He's like, I just finished your book. I know you want to hear my take on this, but my most immediate need is peeing. Therefore, I'm going to go do that and make you wait. Because my needs are more important than yours.
He is so terrible.
Yeah.
It's also, I feel like this is one of the examples where, like, we're going to get into a lot of how absolutely toxic and gaslighty and horrible Willie is as we watch their relationship kind of devolve. But I feel like this is, like, a great early scene of this, right? Where, like, that's a shit move to do. And he knows it is, right? He knows what she wants. He knows that she wants to know what he thinks. He knows what it's going to do to just kind of, you know, well, I'm sorry, I really have to pee right now. Like, it's not even that important to me. I guess I have thoughts, but, like, and especially because, of course, you know, it's whatever era that they're in where it's just chamber pots, and so he's literally just, like, standing in the middle of the room in front of her, like, peeing into a bowl, and you're just like, oh, God, he's so terrible. So he basically shits all over this book that Colette wrote.
He pees
for
all
him.
over it.
Yeah.
Hey!
Yeah, not literally, but metaphorically urinates all over her writing. And Colette is upset, she's frustrated, she's hurt. All completely valid, correct feelings for her to have. She goes to the book and goes to cross out her name where she wrote, you know, like her as the author, starts crossing out her names and crosses out Gabrielle, crosses out Sidonie, and then stops and looks at Colette and underlines Colette. And so up until this point, I guess actually we haven't been very careful about this. She's been going by Gabrielle. And this is the turning point where she changes her name, picks a new name, and starts going by Colette, which is interesting, and I kind of wish like we had I wish we had so much more time to dive into why it is that she decides to take on a new name for herself. But I'm so fascinated by that.
Well, I do think, like, she wrote a whole book. Like, she did something concrete, and I think it probably is a turning point of her moving past her past that she literally wrote about, her childhood and everything, and moving into her role as a strong author, even though she lets Willie take her books. But I feel like it's so tricky because, like, in that time period, I'm like, she lets Willie take her books. I feel like it was not as easy as just like, oh, why would you ever do that? Like, now we're like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you ever do that? But in that time, it was just such a different, like, dynamic between husband and wife.
Yeah.
That it's not like, okay, like, how it just was what she was expected to do.
Yeah, there's so many things, right? Like, there's so many things tied up into it. And I have so many thoughts about the act of writing down the stories for Colette, like what it meant to put them down on paper, and probably to reckon also with the country bumpkin she used to be and the, you know, more city person that she's turning into now. There's also something interesting to me about that attempt to distance herself, and also having written them down, and the fight that she puts up against writing any other Claudine books after that, right? That I think that first book was something different to her. Like, that was a different person than the person that she starts writing the other books about, like, once you get to Claudine in Paris and all this stuff, because I think Colette's a different person by then.
Oh, yeah.
You know? If we don't know it already, I think the next scene is a great introduction to new Colette. New, no longer a country bumpkin Gabrielle, but now awake and aware Colette, who is at a pantomime show, which I love. So she's at a pantomime show watching a scene that confused Ellie and I both, I think, the first, 3 times we watched this movie.
I will say, okay, so there's this pantomime singing, right? And obviously there's a woman singing and the pantomime is pretending to sing. But...
yeah. The pantomime who's a dude.
But I had a voice teacher in college who could sing that high. So it's not really that out of the realm for a man to sing like a soprano. So I just thought I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing countertenor. And I was so impressed. Yeah. Definitely the first 2 times at least that I watched this movie, and I also thought it was him singing. And I was so curious why there was this woman on the side who was so focused and was mouthing along with him. And I was like, I don't get what's happening. I thought she was a fan. You know when you're at a concert and you're in the front row and you're I was like, this is a period, early time period, just in the front row, singing every word.
She's there with a candle back and forth, free bird. Yes.
That's not what it is.
But also, that's not, no. She is singing, but I do love how Colette is entranced by it, right? And I love, that she's entranced by a kind of feminine guy with a woman's voice coming out of him, quote unquote, and that seems just mesmerizing to her. And I'm fascinating, Colette, starting to learn some things about ourselves, are we?
Yeah, Colette does not like the gender norms, thank God.
Yes, not at all. And she also introduces herself with her new name, so she meets a couple that she has already met before, obviously, but introduces herself as Colette, and the woman comments that she doesn't remember that being the name that she met with her with last time, and she says, it's new, in a manner of speaking. And I love this woman, right? Because she's like, oh, then I shall think of this as our first meeting. And I'm like, whoa, you two gonna fuck.
Yep. And you're like, first sign of gay flirting. Ding, ding, ding. And I will say,
ding,
Lee
ding,
told me to watch this film. Lee was like, we have to do Colette. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, there's no gay shit. Because this is the first time that we've had any gay shit. We've been talking for 40 minutes. And I was like, okay, finally. And I promise you it gets better. Listeners,
okay,
it gets better.
It gets better. But here's the thing. Once you hit this scene, it's coming
it's like an avalanche of gay.
Bucketfuls.
Yeah.
It's okay, so we have the new meeting, and then they sit down and they're chatting, and it's Colette chatting with this woman and her husband, and she's like, oh, I have hands like a man. And the woman's like, there's something androgynous about you. You have a touch of Hermes in you. And they are flirting
so hard.
Gangbusters. It's crazy. Yeah. And Willie comes over, as he always does, to ruin everything. He shows up, he's being all jealous and, stomping his little feet and having a temper tantrum and being like, we have to leave now. Oh, it's time to leave. Let's leave, Colette. Drags Colette out of there, gets all huffy in the carriage ride home, being like, meh, he was hitting on you, and I'm insecure and jealous and shitty, and I don't know what he says. I don't think I wrote down a single.
I know,
but
lines. You know what I did write down? What Colette says back. It was the wife I found interesting.
Ding, 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 ding. A choir of heavenly angels descends upon our movie to make it gay. Yes. That's
the end.
Exactly what happens.
Wrap it in a bow. We're done.
Yeah, and of course I love it because it's so typical Willie that he's like, oh, well, I guess that's different, because he's not jealous at all if it's another woman, because it's only men that he's jealous and insecure about, because of course he is.
Yep. Which we never see that now. Definitely.
Yeah, no,
definitely not. Yeah. Men love dating bisexual women because they're not threatened, right?
Yeah,
Until
sure.
they are.
Right. Uh-huh. So what happens next? They come and repossess some of their furniture because Willie can't pay any of his bills. That's great. and as a result of having no money, he decides, wait a minute, let's take that whole entire book that my wife wrote me and, like, maybe sell that thing. I don't know.
That silly old thing.
So that silly old thing becomes the hit of Paris, right? It is bananas. Everyone is going crazy over this book. So here we get another fun penis euphemism with Willie at a party to celebrate Claudine, and people have him up on their shoulders, and he's got a bottle of champagne, like, basically in his lap, that he's just shaking this bottle of champagne in his lap, and there's champagne spraying everywhere out of his lap. It's not real subtle is what I'm saying.
Nothing with Willie ever is.
Nothing with Willie's ever
No.
is. Oh, lordy.
Also, just,
so,
like, the
Willie...
amount that he takes credit and celebrates. I'm like, if you knew this is not your book, don't you think you would try to be, like, a little less, I wrote it, look at me. Like, come on.
He's terrible.
Horrible.
He's so terrible. He is just lapping up this attention and this praise that he knows
It's
isn't
not his.
but he really, really honestly believes that it is, right?
Yep.
Oh, he's just terrible. So he continues to be terrible. They have this whole conversation with Allendorf, who's the publisher of the book, and he gets all pissy because he's like, "Boo, you know, hinted that you're the one who wrote the books," and she's like, "No, I didn't," and he's like, "But I'm terrible." That's how that conversation goes, as far as I remember it.
Yep, pretty accurate.
He tries to make up for it by secretly buying Colette a house in the countryside. I guess that's something, but the way he does it is, like, the worst way possible, because he, like, they're on a walk, and also they're on a walk where, again, Colette is like, "But animals are honest, at least. They don't lie to each other. Seems like lying might be a big problem for Colette. What do we know?" So he walks her through, and then they see this house, and he's like, "I wonder who lives in that house. Let's go get a drink." And then goes and rings the doorbell and makes her, like, make out with him on the stoop, and she's like, "What if they open the door?" And he's like, "Great, put your hand in my pocket." And she's like, "Willie, you're gross." Because
he is gross.
Gross. Like, it's
See,
so
the thing
gross.
is,
And
with
it's
this
not
scene,
even...
when I first watched it, I thought he was going to bring her to that couple, and they were going to have a thing. Like, so I was sitting there being like, oh my God, he might be doing something nice for her. Like, they're going to have a foursome. I'm into it. But no, something completely different.
I wish that woman came back.
I wanted her to
would've
come
loved see
back. I
that
was
go
like, this
somewhere.
character, this is it. This is the gay. And then we only
I
saw
would
her
have gotten
once.
behind them together. Yeah, too bad. No, instead, he's just being skeezy and terrible. Bought her a house, which, like, would be a nice gesture, except he bought her a house with the advance on the second book that she has to write for him now. And you're just like, well, that's less nice then.
Yep.
And then when she doesn't write it fast enough for him, there's this horrible scene where he's, like, walking her up the stairs, and he's like, "What would the headmaster do if Claudine hadn't done her homework?" And you're like, ew, ew, ew.
Ew.
Ew, it's so gross. And then he locks her in a room to write a book for him because he's terrible.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna make that sound a lot in this. It's fine.
I really do wish we could just omit Willie from this whole film, but, you know, he's a little bit central to the plot, but let's just cut him out.
Let's just cut him out. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed, just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/lezhangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lezhangout.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
You come to the New Yorker Radio Hour for conversations that go deeper with people you really want to hear from, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or Questlove or Olivia Rodrigo, Liz Cheney, or the godfather of artificial intelligence, Jeffrey Hinton, or some of my extraordinarily well-informed colleagues at the New Yorker. So join us every week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, wherever you listen to podcasts.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey, guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Wow. So they're back in Paris. She has written another book. It is Claudine in Paris. It is, again, the hit of the town. There is not anybody who has not read or is not currently reading Claudine. Colette and Willie are at a park. They're on a tandem bike. He puts his feet up and, you know, like, just kind of does this little, like, bah-ha-ha, while Colette pedals them around all by herself.
So the same as everything he ever does.
Just a perfect encapsulation of their life together. Willie, like, being useless while Colette makes everything happen for them. Great. But guess who else is in that park?
Well, Georgie's assistant.
No, Georgie's at the table.
Oh, really? I thought it was just like two maids and then...
Oh, no. I think Georgie is sitting there and
just sends her,
sends her lady over with a note or whatever. But you are very correct, Ellie. Georgie, Raoul, Duval is in that park.
Louisiana debutante.
Ugh. God, please do the whole recap in that accent.
I will. Don't I love Georgie?
I love and hate Georgie. I love you being Georgie, though.
Georgie's hot, but Georgie sucks. Georgie is honestly just as bad as
terrible.
Willie. Except
Yeah,
I
she
forgive
kind of
her
is
a
in
little
some
bit
ways.
because she's hot.
Yeah, it helps.
That's horrible, but
it does
true.
help. They go out to dinner with Georgie. She is just, I don't think you could be more explicitly flirting with Colette all night than Georgie is.
That's one of the best things about this movie is how crazy obvious the female flirting is.
It's so crazy.
Like, I think it had to have just been like some sort of open secret that Colette was bi, right? Because like, how do you just come up to like every single woman in this movie is like so coming on to Colette?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Which includes Georgie inviting them back for a nightcap, and Willie turns her down and tells Colette it's because the invitation was obviously for her, so she should go and have that nightcap with Georgie, and does she ever?
Thank God. This is honestly way too far into the movie, like I've said, but we finally get it, and...
Okay, but...
The lines, the lines that Colette is saying, like, she's bold.
Was it worth waiting this long to get, when you raise your eyelids, it's as if you're taking off all my clothes?
Yes, Lee, okay? Yes.
Don't look away. Look at me. Look at me looking at you. Whew, yeah. Colette.
I'm like,
making
and
a girl
everyone
sweat
thinks that
here.
Willie, who says, I gotta take a piss, is a writer.
The best thing Willie's written in the movie so far is that fart.
So obvious.
Oh, Willie. He is so jealous the next morning, too, and I kind of love it. He's like, what happened?
You're like, Willie, it's not for you.
It's really not. But can I also tell you, it's such a stupid moment, but I think one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. So Colette is kind of walking away from Willie to like walk into another room in the apartment or something, and he kind of yells down the hallway just as she's rounding the corner out of sight, and he just goes, "Will you see her again?" And she kind of pulls this little like lean back. So she like leans back around the corner into the frame and just goes, "Possibly," and then walks away.
Amazing.
And it's like such a perfect little beat. No, I love it. I think it's great. So there's that, and that is going to kick us into what I'm calling the Mistress Montage.
And I'm calling the montage of death. I honestly, like, I need to make, if we have any video editors in our audience, can you please just make me, like, a cut of this montage? So, to preface, Willie also decides to start having an affair with Georgie, which, like, so annoying.
Because he's a jealous sack of crap.
Yeah. And same thing here, which is why I'm like, if he was honest, I bet you Colette would have been like, all right, let's work something out. But no, he likes to do it behind her back and be an asshole. So there's a montage of Colette and Georgie, and I'm like, yes, into it. And then it's like Willie and Georgie, and I'm like, oh. And then back to Colette and Georgie, yeah. And then back to Willie and Georgie, and I'm like, what?
This montage is a roller coaster ride of emotions.
It's painful. I'm like, I'm so confused. My body's so confused. I'm like, yes, no, yes, no. Oh, God. So please, if someone could take...
Because you're hot and you're cold.
Yes, that's exactly how it feels. So if anyone can make this and just completely cut the Willie parts out and just give me a straight run through of the Colette and Georgie scenes, that would make my life.
Yeah, because Colette and Georgie together... I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. And I will say, in terms of sex scenes in Lez-ssentials that we've done, we get some boob. Great. That's it. No. We do get some like relatively graphic sex scenes, right? They're like,
yeah, they're not
they're not trying to hide anything. And we'll get some more later, too. So I will at least give it to them.
It doesn't look like someone choreographed this scene who has no idea what two women would do together in bed.
So I give half of that montage an A+. The other half an F. Yes,
you failed.
Yeah, so that's why I was really bouncing around there. Not good. But this whole sequence leads into Colette writing a new book called Claudine and Ménage. I don't speak French.
Do you want me to fix it again?
Yes. Just say it. Just say it, Lee.
En ménage. Claudine en ménage.
There you go. That's the book. Lee will say it. And the book is all about Claudine and Renaud. Is that her? That's her lover, right?
Yes.
Who is Willie, basically. And this torrid love affair they have with the same woman. Which I'm also like, that is a risque book.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Like, for the times. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. And this is like very, very popular. So...
Especially when you consider the reaction that all the mob has at Colette and Missy's Cleopatra dance later on.
Yeah.
You know? Like, yeah, I'm surprised at how much the book seemed to not have hit any scandal. But maybe they just didn't show us the scandal. I don't know.
Yeah. But pretty cool that book was published in general. Except for the fact that Georgie's husband finds out about the affair through the book. Which also, like, what a great way to find out that your wife is sleeping with two different people.
Of both genders, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And
to be fair, the dude's like 90, so
yeah,
I mean,
so he's like probably, okay, expected, but just don't write it in a book. So he is very wealthy, of course, and he buys all of the books and burns all of them. Every single book. So that's the thing where I'm like, okay, burn, no, you really got him. Like, they're going to cash a check. You just paid for all of their books. And then he didn't buy the copyright. So Willie and Colette publish it again.
Right. Just have someone else print them up. Why not?
Yeah. Which is brilliant. I will give it at least one brilliant business move. But I'm also like, Willie's going to blow all that money in 2 minutes.
It is a good entrepreneurial move that Willie finally made, but yes, we don't trust him.
No, not at all. So we go to Willie and Colette bragging about how they really messed with this guy. And I'm also like, they are so bold. Like, they are really like, oh yeah, this book is definitely about us. Like, we're not even going to shy away from the fact that we did this thing.
They give no fucks.
No, none. And Claudine gets so huge that they decide to make Claudine into a play. Because what else?
Right.
And this audition scene.
How did I know you were also going to have notes on the audition?
Well, because, like, come on. The actors are so bad.
I was having, like, such awesome flashbacks of the same overtones of, like, the Pitch Perfect
auditions. Oh yeah,
it's
like it's such a classic comedic scene.
I just wanted someone to come out and do the cup song.
Yes.
Like,
but even
my name is Claudine.
Even more impressive than somebody coming out and doing the cup song is Polaire,
the pride of Algiers.
Yes, who like basically doesn't even audition, is just like, you're gonna cast me because I am Claudine.
Yeah, and she doesn't even, like, she walks in during someone else's audition and just stands in front of them. She's like, well, fuck that girl. Like, I'm just gonna, cast me. It's me.
And they're like, and Willie is like, yeah. Sorry, I had to do it.
It's so accurate,
but it's
though.
so true.
He so wants to bone Polaire, and it's like, ugh.
I know.
It's so gross.
Yes.
It's so gross. Everything that happens next is gross.
You're not wrong, except for the other, well, we'll get to it.
Yes.
But yeah, so then, this is where I feel like the movie just takes such a weird turn, where they focus a lot on Willie's obsession with Claudine, and like the character of Claudine, and it's like what he wants Colette to be. And so he basically makes Colette into Claudine.
Well, into Polaire as Claudine, right? Because, like, that's the thing. Polaire shows up with this with this new exotic bob haircut. And we've heard, we didn't mention it, but we've heard Colette at this point mention that she is Rapunzel, right? She was known as the girl with the hair. She loves her hair. And he wants her to get a haircut to match Polaire. And she's like, not in 1,000 years. But of course, cutscene, the girl with the hair now has a cute little bob haircut, which, like, to be fair, looks fantastic on Keira Knightley.
I mean,
but
yes.
That's not the point.
The point is she did not want to cut her hair. If she was like, yes, I'm doing it. Fuck you, Willie. I don't need my hair anymore. I don't need you anymore. But no, it was Willie's doing. But yeah, she looks pretty hot, not gonna lie.
It's a good look for her. She looks way better with it than Polaire. That's all I'm
You're
saying.
not wrong. So they go and they actually see Claudine on stage, right? And it's huge. It's huge. And then after...
I'm already bouncing in my seat.
After the show, we finally meet our favorite character, Missy.
A.K.A. the Marquise de Bellebeuf.
Yes. And we get an introduction to Missy, basically because Colette is like, who's that hottie over there? And Weber, who is one of the ghostwriters, is basically like Colette's little wingman. And is like, oh, that's Missy. She wears...
Missy's in a suit.
Yeah, she wears men's clothing. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's wild, you guys. We are into it.
Yes, we are so into it. And so Missy is very, very butch, short haircut, wears men's clothing, looks super, super hot, and Colette's into it, for sure.
Also, can I tell you something else? So while we talk about how Vogg's pantomime confused us for like the first couple times, I watched this again, like over the past 2 days to take notes for this, and I have seen this movie so many times at this point. I have never noticed before that while Willie is doing his whole little like 8-mile shtick up on the tabletop, right? I've been so distracted by how terrible it is and how much I hate everything that's happening. And also, he probably had Weber write it for him. Who are we kidding? Willie didn't write that.
Way.
While he's doing that, Missy passes Colette a note at the table. Did you ever notice that?
I don't know if I did notice that. I definitely noticed some looks between them.
Yeah, she's giving her looks because she like passed her a note at the table.
Do we know what the note says?
They don't show us what the note says. So what do you think the note says?
I mean, the note obviously says like my place later. Like
I like to think it says want to get in these pants.
Yes. Want me to get you a suit or do you want to get in my suit?
Both. The answer's both. Yeah, so Missy passes Colette a note, and that's cool. I'm into that. I like that. Yeah. I like that way better than what's coming next.
I'm like, wait, what's coming next? Are we talking about Willie on the table?
No, after Willie on the table. After Willie on the table, they go back to their apartment, and he has the Claudine schoolgirl outfit. This is where most of my oohs and my notes come in. He has the schoolgirl outfit laid out on the bed, and he's like, oh, I was thinking maybe tonight it would help me, you know? And he, like, makes Colette dress up like a fucking schoolgirl in the hair that he made her cut, in the outfit that he makes her put on, and then straight up says to her, my love, my Claudine. And you're like, ooh, motherfucking ooh. This so is disturbing. Terrible.
It's so disturbing. Oh. And that's not the first time that he's gonna have a girl get in a freaking Claudine costume. Like, it's his thing now. And it is very disturbing.
It's a bad thing, Willie.
It's very disturbing. Yeah, I'm sorry I did not have that. I literally, like...
You probably just, like, skipped over it. It's fine.
Swear, the majority of my notes are just about the gay shit. It's like I literally just cut all the Willie out of it.
This is why you wanted the second half, huh?
Yeah, because I'm like, gay shit, gay shit, gay shit, gay shit.
It's fine. I get it. I see what happened here.
Okay, so... Then, thank God.
We're just gonna have a, we'll pull a little sound clip that's just Ellie saying gay shit over and over.
Please.
Okay.
So, Colette and Missy's relationship now is starting.
Yes. Two things that I wanna hit before we go to the country house. one of them is that her first date with Missy basically is like they go on a walk, and then again she writes Missy a letter afterwards, which I love, right? Because it was like we got the letter writing to Willie, and then we suffered through all of Willie, and now we get the letter writing to Missy, and she ends the letter with Missy by describing Missy as a true gentle man, and I just love it. Also, I don't want to spend like too much time on it, but I do feel like we should at least mention that we meet Meg. Meg is who is going to become
the second
Willie's sort of younger
Claudine
replacement. Trade-in Claudine. I don't really know. She comes by in her fucking Claudine outfit, of course. And then she's like, oh, would you sign my book? I love it. It's my favorite book. Sign the book for me. My name is Meg. I am the real Claudine. Of course.
Cringy.
And
so
she's
cringy.
literally half his age. He's 46. She's 23. And her response to that information is, I don't mind. And you're like, ugh. Okay. It's fine. Now we can get to the country house, which I call their poly-family outing.
Their poly-family outing. Amazing. Yeah, a lot of this is a little bit reminiscent of Professor Marston, except they're not as truthful, I feel like, at the beginning.
Yeah, also, it's toxic as shit.
And they're not actually good together in their main couples. But this is the part where they're doing ab workouts, correct?
Yes, although we shouldn't skip over the conversation that she has with Willie, where he's like, she asks what he thinks of Missy, and he's like, words are either masculine or feminine, but there's no word for Missy, right? Which is important because when Colette kind of confronted him about the whole thing with Georgie via the book that she was writing, right?
Yes.
And they're having this whole kind of play conversation about Renaud and Claudine, really having a conversation about the two of them. And in that conversation, she does mention, so it wouldn't bother Renaud if Claudine was having an affair with another young man. And it would, of course, bother Renaud. That would be totally different. And she makes this comment about how, to Renaud, infidelity is a matter of gender, right?
Yes. But Missy doesn't really have a gender.
It's an important distinction because I think it's curious to fit that in with how Willie sees Missy, right? Because that's going to play into some of the conversations that they have afterwards, too. What I love is, even though there is no word for Missy, he does say, isn't there something missing? Which, the best cutscene.
Because,
right?
literally straight to sex scene. Isn't there something missing? Don't think so.
Nope, doesn't seem to be anything missing there. They're working it out just fine, Willie.
And that's also, I will give that scene an A+. We have a lot of good sex. That's all.
Yeah.
Good.
She and Missy are just figuring things out just fine.
Yep, nothing.
Now we're doing some sit-ups.
Oh my god, this scene, the sit-up scene, I don't know why it cracked me up so much. It's just Missy holding on to Keira Knightley's legs and Keira Knightley just doing sit-ups. And I'm like, this is like just such a weird little gay moment. And I loved it. And then basically Missy's like, great job. And then starts talking about Missy's marriage and how Missy used to be married to a man, which gives us a little bit more context on Missy and their sexuality and gender identity sort of exploration. Because things did not work out with Missy's ex-husband because of how Missy presents, right?
But Missy also, this is such a great scene. And I think besides just the gay shit
yes.
in this movie, this scene for me is like enough of a reason to do this movie in general, because I love some of Missy's quotes in this, right? We have this beginning of the conversation with Colette saying, you know, it must have been really hard for you, like, putting on trousers, right? Missy is like, no, like, that is 100% backwards, like, totally wrong. Like, putting on trousers is what Missy says, like, I knew I was home for the first time, right? Like, I never belonged anywhere before that, but then I put my brother's school outfit on, and, like, I was home. This was home. And it's just, it's, like, such a great, easy encapsulation of where Missy is and why Missy does this. Also, I love that Missy totally gets that it's way easier than if she wasn't the marquise that she is, if she didn't have the, descendancy that she has. And she specifically calls that out as, like, I wanted to show that it can be done, which I wish we could, like, go back in time and send Missy a Representation Matters shirt, because Missy gets it.
Oh, yeah, well, like, they're using their power and their, like, wealth and privilege to basically be like, okay, well, you can't say shit about me because they're not going to take away my money. So I'm going to do what I want to do, and I hope that others follow suit, literally. Suit up.
Yeah. And you know who does? Who suits up? Because
Colette, this is your
my next note is all
Lee.
caps, and it just says suit.
And Keira Knightley looks so good in a suit, obviously.
She looks great in that suit.
And Willie's like, what are you wearing? And you're like, Willie, get out. Willie, you don't have any say in this. She looks amazing.
She looks great.
So good. Yeah. And he's trying to make...
Did I tell you
what?
I went and got fitted for a suit?
Because of this movie, or?
Not because of this movie, but just also in a general sense. I'm just saying.
Amazing.
I got suits on the mind right now.
I'm excited for you. Send pics when it's done.
I will.
Yes.
The suit conversation is the conversation where Colette asks to have her name on the next Claudine, and Willie's like, but I'm Willie, and then throws another temper tantrum because that's all fucking Willie ever does. And then she starts doing dance lessons with Vogue, right? He has this new kind of pantomime, and it looks like it's like early precursor to modern dance stuff. She starts doing lessons with Vogue and is practicing in the mirror, and Willie wants her to keep writing the book, and he's just gaslighting the shit out of her, right? Where he's like, oh, I mean, you're no Sarah Bernhardt, so, I mean, really, if you can't be serious about this, then it's just gonna be scandalous and all this stuff. And it's
like, Willie, you literally never written anything in your whole life.
Right. He's terrible. But this is the conversation. Colette, for the first time, is using male pronouns for Missy. And this hasn't happened yet, right? Missy has always been still going by female pronouns, and obviously as a woman up until now. Now, they have this really interesting conversation because, again, Willie, infidelity, it's a matter of gender for Willie. Willie, I don't think, can possibly let himself see Missy as a man. Yeah. And so he keeps calling Missy she in this conversation.
And Colette keeps actively saying he.
Yeah. He comes to the studio with me all the time. He's really great at it.
Yes. Which I love. It's like, honestly, this whole scene is such, I agree, like, for Missy alone is why we're doing this Lez-ssentials. I mean, Missy and Keira Knightley. But this conversation is such a subtle, I mean, it's not subtle, but it's more subtle than, my name is Missy, and now I go by he, him pronouns. Make sure you ask me about it, blah, blah, blah. Like, so on the nose, where it's like, okay, this is being told through the lens of somebody who's always talking about Missy and correcting someone who is clearly misgendering Missy. And it's such a great conversation to see in a period piece. This isn't with people who are in the 21st century. Like, this is in the early 1900s that this conversation is happening.
Because it's interesting to me. I mean, up until now, even in our discussion, right, that we've used female pronouns for Missy because that's how Missy's character is presented in the movie up until that point. This is the first time where you get a male pronoun. And my question would be, I would love to do more research into real life Missy. Because I'm really curious about whether that understanding was because that's how other people saw Missy and talked about Missy, and at this point, Colette, having now gotten close enough to Missy and understanding Missy better, now sees the gender that Missy wants as masculine, and therefore respects that and uses that language herself when she's talking about him. right? Because we don't
yeah,
ever
they
get
never
that
really
that
explicitly say
exposition, and we don't really get it. So our understanding is that from now on, Missy wants to be referred to by male pronouns, and we are taking that cue from Colette, who does it so beautifully in this scene. I love it.
Yes. I needed to look this up because I was really interested. Actually, Missy, the historical character, referred to her and himself in both pronouns.
Oh my god, I love it. Stop it.
Yeah, so also just to make sure that we're getting it correctly, but the actress who played Missy said that in an interview. So Missy was a non-binary, was gender fluid in their identity and referred to themselves with both pronouns. So either one is correct, but I think that's also just really just such a cool conversation that they could really have at this time. So love it, and I think is worth making sure we got it right.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What's next on our agenda?
Okay, let's go through the just shit show that is everything that happens from here on out. So, we have the dream of Egypt, right? Willie basically bankrolls this whole stage production with the scandal of Colette and Missy on stage, and it ends with them kissing on stage, and people done lose their minds about it.
Oh, yeah. And people being Missy's ex-husband and all of his friends. Or it's Missy's ex-husband's friends. I don't think the ex-husband themselves is there.
Yes, it is his friends. Yeah. It basically bankrupts Willie and Colette. So that's great.
Which I'm also like, do you think Willie just bankrolled this project like as just like revenge on Colette?
I think Willie does a lot of things as revenge on Colette, right? Including showing up to her father's funeral to tell her that he needs to sell her house because he lost all their money.
Also late.
Way to go,
Let's also
Willie.
mention late to the funeral.
Oh, yeah.
The funeral's
Late to
happening,
the funeral.
and everyone's like, Willie, what are you doing here? Walks in, makes grand entrance, late.
He is just the worst, and he continues to be the worst, while Colette goes on tour with Vogue and Missy and the whole troupe, and Willie trying desperately to write a Claudine by himself.
Horribly.
Yes, it does not go well. In fact, it goes so not well, he sells the rights to the Claudines, to Allendorf.
Sells the rights to books that he never wrote.
Because he's a sack of crap. You know who's not a sack of crap, though?
Missy.
Missy. Oh, can we talk about this scene
It's
real
such a
quick?
cute...
It's like my shining light in the darkness.
It's such
that
a cute
is the whole end
scene.
of this movie.
So Missy and Colette are in bed together in their cute little nightgowns.
Yes, I
and
love it.
Missy tells Colette that he loves her. And it's so sweet. And
It's so cute.
I think it's such a great contrast to Willie because Missy does say, you know, you don't have to do this. You don't have to keep working. I'll take care of you. And of course, Colette has seen that before and she's like, no, I'm making my own money. Like, I'm going to be my own person. If I'm with you, I'm with you. And that's great. But I don't want you to own me.
Right.
And Missy just says, you do whatever you want to do. I just want you to know I love you. And if you don't want to work, you don't have to because I love you and want to help you. And so it was like this gesture of money with no strings attached that just I feel like has never happened for Colette.
Well, and continues not to happen, right? Because what I love is we get this really great back-to-back contrast scene of Missy saying I love you in the most open, giving, selfless way. And then Willie, right? Colette's back to pack up the house that he bought for her and then is selling because legally he owns it. And he's asking her, you know, is this over? Are we over? Like, I refuse to accept that we're over. And this is where we get Willie's I love you. And Willie's I love you is because I love you and you're at your most brilliant when you're with me, you still need your headmaster.
Gross.
Ugh.
Gross. Also, Willie,
it's so bad.
She can write without you. She did write without you. Just because you were in the other room doesn't mean she was at her best when she was with you. She did it. She did everything. He sucks. He sucks.
He's pretty terrible. Yeah.
And thank God this is the
also,
time
he
where
sucks
finally
and
it is pretty much over.
Can't get it up in bed anymore. So, Willie's Willie doesn't work. Too
Oh,
bad.
so sad, Willie. Don't care. Yeah, and he's not. Meg's not doing it for him anymore. The real Claudine. Colette's like, I'm the real Claudine, bitch.
I'm the real Claudine. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the confrontation scene, right? Because, Allendorf spills the beans that, oops, someone sold me the rights to the Claudines.
Someone? Who could that be?
It might have been that asshole you married. And so, Colette, I love the, 30-second long shot that's just her looking pissed out a train window.
Yep.
I love it so much. Goes home and has this epic scene of just ripping into Willie. I love it. She has so many good lines in this, right? Where she's like, you hurt and you hurt and you hurt, and you think that by saying I'm a man and that's what men do, and you clear it all away. Ooh, she
good.
is coming for him.
And he really, this took way too long. He deserved everything that she said to him.
He really did. And I think the most important thing that Colette says and realizes in this scene is, I am the real Claudine.
Yep.
Right? Because she is. She wrote these books. She lived this life. She is this person that he tried to
commoditize,
own, basically. Yeah. And it's her. And she, I think, finally sees that, right? That, this is her. And she is not the Claudine that lives in Willie's head. She is herself. She is the person that she is, and she does not need him anymore.
Thank God.
I love it. It is just the best scene to have her end that relationship with walking out the door after he has manipulated and gaslighted and just so many things. It's such a toxic relationship. The conversation with Missy of sort of putting into words these feelings of finding your home in the gender that wasn't the gender that people tried to force you into. I also love this scene of a woman realizing how toxic and hurtful and abusive the relationship that she is in is to her, and walking out the door after having forgiven him time and time again, walking out the door to him screaming, I forbid you, and just not even turning around.
Yeah, because he can't. He has no hold over her anymore, thank the Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's done. She's gone. She is left. She is cutting ties, and it is amazing.
Yes. It's so great. And then finally, we have, the wrap up, finding out that Colette does write again under her own name and becomes a success in her own right. And, eventually everyone knows that Claudine was written by her. Willie sucks, never, I'm sure he falls into oblivion. And she still continues her successful writing career. And her and Missy stay together.
And wait. Can we also say that not only does Colette walk out on Willie, but it also then we get this super cute scene on the train with the two of them where Missy does finally get his I love you back, and it's just sort of mouthed as they're on the train with everyone in the car sleeping, and they're across from each other on these seats, and Colette just kind of looks up and they catch each other's eyes, and she just mouths a little I love you, and the smile that Missy
so sweet.
has. Oh, I just die. I die every time.
Honestly,
it's so great.
The only way that we should end this Lez-ssentials is with that beautiful Missy and Colette moment. Let's just remember that. Forget about Willie.
Let's forget about Willie. Yes. Done.
Good.
I love it.
As with all of our Lez-ssentials, we also have a drinking game. So I'm going to tell you all of the drinking game rules for this Lez-ssentials. Number 1, anytime Colette says a zinger, she has some good one-liners. 2, anytime Colette insinuates about her lesbianism. So this is it was the wife I was more interested in. That kind of insinuation.
Yes.
3, anytime someone shakes down Willie for money, that'll get you real messed up. Number 4 is a fun one. It's going to be called Lesbian Rabbit Hole. So anytime you see an actor or somebody who is in another gay thing, you have to drink. So like Ceto. Number 5, anytime Colette eats an apple, which is surprisingly a lot of times. She loves apples.
Does she eat that many apples?
She loves apples. I promise you.
Interesting.
Yeah. 6, anytime you see their dog, which we never mention, but the dog is in quite a few scenes as well.
Toby Shea.
Yeah. Number 7, whenever Colette's hair changes. So we have braids, we have down, we have chopped, and I think that might be it. So there's 3 hair changes. And then the last one, which is upsetting, but we got to go with it. Anytime someone says or uses a penis euphemism.
Oh, that one's a killer in this movie.
So that's
tell you what.
I think this game is gonna be pretty intense. So I hope you enjoy. And disclaimer, please drink responsibly. And even if you just want to drink water, that's totally okay. You can choose to do as many or as little of the drinking game as you want. All right, well, overall, Lee, what's your overall feeling about Colette? Just like general review.
My general review is let's cut Willie out of the movie, and I give it 5 stars.
Good. Yeah, I think my feelings are pretty similar. I appreciated the recommendation because Keira Knightley as a bisexual woman is everything I could have ever wanted. And just because of Missy, I will give it a pretty high queer rating. But I just really had such a hard time getting through the Willie scenes. I will say, if you really want to watch this film and you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with Willie, just fast forward to like 45 minutes in and then start watching. And you'll get the idea.
You'll skip a lot.
Yeah, you'll get the idea.
Is it time, Ellie?
Oh, it's time.
Okay.
Let's do
Are
it.
you ready for our Q and Gay?
Oh, yeah.
Q and gay.
I'm going to kick us off with question 1. What is your creative outlet? Because we got a couple in this movie. So, A, writing, B, singing, C, dance, or D, acting?
B, singing, obviously. We all know this.
Obviously. But I'm really curious to see what other people say.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there will be plenty of other dancers, actors, and writers out there. All right, number 2, which I don't even want to read these because it's going to give me PTSD. But what's the grossest hetero sex in the movie? A, the barn. B, audio only. C, Willie and Georgie, or D, Claudine roleplay.
Okay, I have to say, I think in terms of the worst experience-wise when you're watching the movie, Willie and Georgie is up there because of the roller coaster of it, but I think the grossest overall is the Claudine roleplay.
Yeah, I think you're correct about that.
It's just, there's, as if Willie wasn't bad enough, now it's like, oh, and also, let me pretend you're a small school child, and you're like, and it got worse.
Yeah.
Somehow,
yeah,
it got worse. Question 3, Ellie. Who do you most prefer Colette with? A, the wife from the dinner party at the salon. B, Georgie Raoul Duval. Or C, Missy.
I mean, the obvious choice is C, Missy. But I do have to say I wish the wife got more screen time.
Right? There could have been
I really
something
think there was some chemistry there.
There was some heat. I'm with you.
Number 4, cantamime or pantomime.
Such a tough call. I feel like I'm sad Cantamime didn't stick around, you know?
You're right.
Like, I feel like Cantamime now is what has turned into lip sync battles. Yes. Right?
Makes sense.
I'm like,
it's a pure art form.
It is a pure... Yeah. It's just... everyone needs some good Cantamime every now and then. Okay, Ellie, I'm sorry for this one.
Why did I get both of these
Question
horrible
5.
ones?
You didn't.
Oh, you got the other one.
Two.
All right, but still I had to read it.
Question... I had to say the words. Question 5. Worst penis euphemism in the movie. A, the Eiffel Tower erection. B, a slippery eel. C, the champagne shower. Or D, Willie.
Willie, get rid of him. Goodbye.
It's an easy choice.
That was an easy one. Remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
Let me hear you say, hip, 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 we're gay.
We love hearing from you and building this community, so we want to shout out some of our favorite things from each episode.
We want to shout out a two-time shout out now, because we just wanted to mention again Aaron S., who keeps sending us emails after our episodes, and they are so detailed and so touching, and we just love getting those. So Aaron, thank you so much for reaching out again. It just means a lot to know that you're out there listening, and we're so happy to hear from you.
Of course, we have to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Lez-ssentials,
Tanya Ferguson,
Jess Klaus,
Danny Griswold,
Michelle Ray Thomas,
Sarah and Julia,
Nicole Gross,
Carrie Ann Lawrence,
Mark Foster,
Danny Gunlock Tamura,
Sammy Walsh,
Audrey O'Connor,
and Wendy K. Bartlett.
And we also have to thank our King Princess Patreons, Kayla Kelly,
and Amy and Ellen. We're so excited to see what they choose for their next Should Have Been Gay. So excited.
Yes,
it's going to be great.
Can't wait. Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop.
We also have videos going up on our YouTube channel, so make sure that you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod so that you don't miss them.
And if you want to support the podcast, the easiest and most free way to do that is to rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps us reach new listeners and get your feedback. So if you want to do that, we would love for you to rate and review us.
You can also join our Patreon. You get so many cool perks. You get bloopers, you get watch parties, you get ad-free episodes, you get downloads of our songs and our jingles and all sorts of good stuff. You can find that at bit.ly/lespatreon.
And if you want to get some of our merch, you can go to bit.ly/lesshop. It's about that time for our Les Hangout Skellies again. So you better hop on that Halloween Les love.
If you want to follow us individually, the best place to find me is on Twitter and Instagram at LSHFoster.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at EllieBrigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
When I was a girl, I couldn't have imagined how I'd travel the world, charting a course through the twists and the turns. My life, I had to let it happen without knowing why. Chasing accomplishments you've never earned. But now your time is out. I'm coming out. I'm coming out. Was
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.